My name's Phil Webster. After travelling the world for 20 years, I returned to my native England and embarked on an acting career. Things were going pretty good. But losing my mum in 2021, coupled with an unexplained event, sent my life on a completely different path, forever. I trained with indigenous shamans, meditation teachers, mediums and thought leaders, and I wrote a book called Letting Glow. Join me on a quest to demystify the mystical with some of the world's leading experts on the esoteric, consciousness, and the journey to letting glow. So today I'm joined by Lynn Russell. After researching 2,500 cases of near-death experiences, Lynn is one of the foremost experts in the field of NDEs and has written 2 books on the subject, The Wonder of You, What the Near-Death Experience Tells You About Yourself, and her latest book, Beyond NDEs, the next step in near-death experience research, which I am currently enjoying reading. Thanks very much, Lynn, for joining me.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
So if we get started, I'm sure most people know the term, but before we get into it, would you mind explaining what the term near-death experience or NDE means?
Well, near-death experiences would be someone who almost died or did die. And it's a little bit difficult because to know the difference between the almost and the actual death. But people who have left their body and during an operation or during an accident or something, and they are at the spirit level, but their body could be struggling, and dying in the process, or it could actually be dead. And so then the person would have a death experience.
Okay. I feel like you're picking up the mantle. I feel like you're the 21st century Raymond Moody. At the start of your book, Beyond Near-Death Experiences, you talk about a profound spiritual awakening that came to you in 3 stages. Would you mind talking about those experiences and what effect they had on you?
I had 3 experiences, and they were one right after another, but days in between. And I sort of linked them together because I think the main message of the experiences were all the same message. But basically, I was washing the dishes in my kitchen, and I'm looking out the window above me, and there's a tree, a fruit tree, I think it was an apple tree, out in the yard. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I became the tree. I could feel this whole sensation of as if I was being taken over. And I became the tree, but I also became every kind of life form that I could think of. And so that, and that went on for a little bit of time, maybe about a half a minute, where I thought of other kinds of life forms, and everything I thought about, I became it, and it became me. And that was a cool, a cool experience. But it disappeared right away, and I just I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have any idea what except that I thought it was very cool. That's all. And so then the next experience that I had, I was a few days later, and I'm watching. And what's interesting, I had 3 kids, and my youngest daughter was in bed having a nap. This was always in the afternoon. My son was in kindergarten, and then my older daughter was in grade 1. And so it was always during the afternoon when things were quiet, which I think is sort of cool. Anyway, I'm washing the walls, the fingerprints off the walls, and all of a sudden I don't see the walls anymore. Now I'm seeing an atom and the electrons and the protons, the nuclei with the electrons going around. And that expanded to our solar system with the sun and the planets going around. And then that expanded to a galaxy. I'm assuming our galaxy, with everything spinning around a central point. And so, and while I was getting this micro to macro universe, I was also being told information. And I was being told that this wasn't an accident, that, that the universe had an intelligence and a planning and organization behind it. And so, and then the other thing, that was cool. I really enjoyed that. But the next statement came, and it was so strong, it hit me right deeply inside.
Mm,
And it said, your being is intricately connected with the operation of the universe. And that's pretty much verbatim. And I didn't want to hear that. I did not like that one at all. So as soon as I had a negative feeling about it, it all just disappeared. That was it. That was the end. And I couldn't figure out that message. I didn't like it because I didn't know what that expectation to go that went with that, like being intricately connected with the operation.
mm,
That really scared me.
mm,
So anyway, again, days later, now I'm in my living room and I'm cleaning up and tidying up, and I feel this presence in the universe, in the living room with me.
mm,
I couldn't see anything. There was nothing to see, just my living room, but I could feel this very strong presence of something. And it was a beautiful something because I felt this strong, strong love coming toward me
mm,
from this presence. And it was as if I was being, as if love was being pumped right into me. It was so beautiful. Anyway, then I felt like I was connected somehow. I didn't see an umbilical cord. I just felt connected. That,
mm, mm,
and maybe that's what I don't know. Anyway, the next thing that happened was that I heard words, and these were external, or seemed external in my right ear. And it said, this is where you came from, and this is where you will return. And that was so beautiful. And then everything stopped. It
mm.
disappeared, and that was the end of it. And I
Wow.
didn't have any more experiences after that. So that was really a beautiful experience, and I was just thrilled with it.
Yeah.
And since then, I've had nothing more about
Hmm.
it. I think the main message behind all of that was to talk about the oneness, the connection of myself with everything.
Did that send you in a different direction, or did you just leave that alone until recent years when you've been researching near-death experiences?
Well, not really, because I was already very, very interested in spirituality. I had been interested since about 8. I'd already been doing a lot of search,
Yeah.
and so I kept my search up. But what the benefit was from that experience was that when I started to learn about oneness
Mm.
and people talking about it and understand, that's when I started to be able to understand my experience a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've had a couple myself in recent years. Nothing as profound as what you did, and I probably didn't handle them as well as you did. I was kind of okay, what's going on? And then just put them behind me. I thought, okay, I don't know what that was, and just
Yeah.
left it behind. And then it's only been in recent years that I've looked back at them all with a different lens. And I thought, well, actually, well, what if they were something? And then started taking note, and everything's changed. But anyway, this isn't about me. I was reading about your research with Dr. Jeffrey Long uncovered that 17% of all deaths result in an NDE in the United States alone. And that's a lot. Do you think that it's still a taboo subject, or do you think that attitudes are changing around this?
Oh, yes, I think that the attitude towards death experiences has changed a lot
Mm,
because even people who are skeptics are having these experiences. And so they come back and they say, what the heck happened?
mm, mm,
And so I think that's, it's changing quite a bit.
mm. I find it interesting that for the most part we go through life and we brush death aside, we put it under the carpet. Nobody really
Mhm.
wants to deal with it until you have to deal with it, whether you
Yeah.
lose a loved one or then you're facing your own mortality in some way, and then it's life changing. I would assume, and then obviously reading your book, that people have a completely different outlook on life when they come back in a different way to what they did before, right?
Yes, they do. It's very difficult for them. Some of them are able to blend in and just accept and move on.
Mm,
But other ones struggle with their experience because they this is so different from what they experienced. And this world seems to be artificial. It doesn't seem to be a real world. And so that's very important.
yeah.
Because everything there is so much brighter and stronger.
Mm,
Their mind works much, much faster and is comprehends things that, like, concepts that that we struggle with here.
yeah.
And so when they come back, it just seems artificial.
Mm,
It feels like this is an illusion. And that's one point. The other thing is that they give up the interest in material things. They're not interested in getting ahead or the car and the house and all that.
yeah.
They're more interested in people and how to make the world a better place,
Mm,
generally speaking. The only ones that I'm finding aren't as much into that are the ones who don't have a life review. But those who have had life reviews change completely. Um, and so they want the world to be a different place, you know, and and so they continue with their spirituality and their learning and growing and sharing it with
I
us.
find that really fascinating. So some people have the experience, they go through they see the tunnel, they go through the experiences that people talk about. But if they don't have the life review, then they tend to come back and carry on as they were before.
Mm, they're changed
Mm,
because, as I say, the experience that they've had is very, very different. But the difference is that they haven't had the experience of how their behavior affects everybody else
right.
and how significant that is. So it isn't that they don't care. I mean, they're very spiritual and they do continue with the spirituality, but they don't have that quality. I don't know, I can't describe it, but there's a quality that happens for people who have life reviews with people who don't.
Yeah, that's also one thing that you mentioned just in speaking then was about the perceptions changing. So bringing this back to my own story, but I had a very profound experience of linear time falling away. It was terrifying, and it lasted a very long time. I thought I was going out of my mind, but I found somebody that brought me back, a therapist who was well versed in spiritual matters. And essentially, he was talking about things like shamanic sickness. He was talking about ultimate reality. We only truly have this moment of now. And that's what it felt like for me. It was now all the time. And it was terrifying. I couldn't make sense of the future or the past.
Oh,
It all seemed like a really absurd concept that really caught my attention in your book, talking about how people have a different perception of time, that it just essentially doesn't exist on the other side. And then I was wondering if people come back with any sense of that, or do they just kind of fall back into the routine? I mean, that's how we have to do things here.
yeah. Well, it is very difficult because this comes across as being an artificial world, and
Mm,
so but eventually most of them blend back in.
yeah.
Eventually, some of them do struggle. The things that they struggle with are that the difference in that the level of reality there compared to here. But they also struggle with marriages. A very high percentage of people who have had death experiences um, wind up divorced or broken
Mm,
up, marriages, which is a shame, but it's because their whole perspective changes. They
yeah.
don't care about, they're not into the same kind of thinking. And so the spouse sometimes can't relate to that new person, you
Mm,
know?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I see that even in people that go through a change of perception and a spiritual journey, then you see the people fall away as you go
Yeah.
along. Has all this research that you've conducted, it must have altered your own perceptions around death. Do you fear death anymore?
No, not really. No, I'm actually quite comfortable
Mm,
with that. And I'm 86, so I'm getting there. I'm starting to look at it in the face, but I've helped people with death as well,
yeah.
and so no, I'm not really worried about it. You can't disqualify 2,500 cases
Mm.
or more and say, oh well, that was just.
I find it so fascinating. I really do. It's such an interesting subject. I tend to come across skeptics less and less in the circles that I move in. Do you
Yeah.
ever encounter skeptics, and how do you deal with them?
Actually, I do,
Okay.
and I do because I live in Canada's Bible Belt.
Right.
Canada, our Bible Belt is very mild in comparison to other places, but this is our Bible Belt, and so there's a very high number of Christians,
Mm,
and they don't accept my thinking, and so I'm okay with it. I don't
mm.
expect the world to all fit in and believe what the people are going to be skeptic, and that's okay. And so I just allow them to be who and what they are. That's okay. The one thing I do is to make sure that they understand that it's okay with me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them not accepting.
Yeah, that's a very nice attitude. Just going back to the book, the theme that permeates the entire one that I'm reading is essentially that love comes through everything. That seems to be the message that they come away with. Something that you wrote was love is the tether that binds the soul to the source. I thought that's really, really nice. And I'm probably going to use it and I'll quote you on it. I feel that at the end of the day, that seems to be the main message throughout the book.
Oh, well, that's lovely. Thank you. Um, the other thing that I want to get across in the book was that how magnificent people are. I
Yeah.
want them to understand, and we don't. We disqualify, and I used to be a family counselor,
Yeah.
and I was absolutely astounded by how many people actually hate themselves. They
Mm,
really, there's such a negative view about their own being. And we really are our own worst enemies.
mm,
And that was painful to see that, because sometimes I would run across a client who would treat herself as if she was a criminal. I
mm.
mean, she was a nice person living at home, doing all the things that, living a good quality life and thinking of herself as less,
Yeah.
than a quality person. Anyway, so that blew me away. And so that is one of my big messages, is that our reality is magnificent. And I'm not joking. I
Mm,
don't say that frivolously.
mm.
We really are so beautiful, and we need to get that across. We
Yeah.
need to
That,
start
that's really
looking at
nice.
ourselves more honestly. I had
Mm,
an experience I want to tell people about.
mm,
Um, and this was way back years ago, in my 30s. And I was really down on myself too. Very negative. And I was really upset because I wasn't getting from my parents, I wasn't getting the recognition and support that I felt I needed and that I should be getting. And so, anyway, I had just been spent some time with them for a couple of weeks, actually, and actually a couple of months. And so I came home and I got the kids off to school, and then I curled myself in a ball on the couch and I stayed there for 2 solid weeks. I got up enough to get the kids supper, meals, and look after them.
mm,
But as soon as they were gone, I was back in my little ball.
mm.
And my messages to myself were, I'm not good enough, nobody loves me. What's the matter with me? How come I can't get the love I expect? And then, and this went on for 2 weeks. And then I don't know if I heard a voice or if it just was a thought of my own, but
Mm.
I thought to myself, but do I deserve it? Do I deserve this love that I'm looking for? And I stripped away all the gosh, gee, I can't say nice things about myself thing. And I looked at myself as a real human being without any emotion. And I saw that I was a good, clean, living person. I looked after my kids. I was honest. I didn't lie. I never cheated. I've never stolen a thing in my life. Um, and so I thought, what's not to love? And so And so with that, I was able to give myself my love.
Mm.
And that changed things overnight. Just overnight. I became a completely different person. When my sister saw me after that, she said, "What happened?"
Wow. Well, that's lovely. I think that's a lovely thing to finish with as well. We're almost out of time. But thank you. That was a really nice story, and and I'm glad that you added that. That's a really important
Well,
message,
thank
I
you.
think, as
Good.
well. Yeah.
Um,
So is there where can people get hold of your books? Where can people learn more about you?
well, my books are on Amazon, but they also are on um, other sources as well.
Yeah.
And I published through Amazon, but it's extended, and so that's one of the places. And also, you can get a hold of me through just Googling my name, but just make sure that you put the K in, Lynn K Russell. Otherwise, you won't find me because
Okay.
there's a bazillion Lynn Russells out there.
All right. All right. I'll make sure I add the K when I put the notes into everything, and I'll put links to all of your books and your
Yeah,
website.
and also they can listen to other interviews. I have a Lynn K Russell channel on YouTube.
Oh, wow. Okay. I need to look at that. I haven't come across that yet. All
Yeah,
right. Well, Lynn, thank you for your time. It was really an honor to meet you. I'm very much enjoying the book at the moment, and I look forward to reading the others too. Thank you very
and
much for your time. I very much appreciate it, and hope to speak to you again someday.
you're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye.